Portuguese is a beautiful language. I love Portuguese a lot, and it was an awesome experience to be able to learn Portuguese. It was a lot of fun, very rewarding, as I'm sure it is for any language. And I guess a nice part about it is that it being a Latin-based language, it's not like super hard. Like if you can, like it's not as hard as learning Russian or Chinese or something like that. It's definitely very doable. So Brazilian Portuguese is definitely different than we call Portuguese Continental Portuguese. So Continental Portuguese is spoken in Portugal, Cape Verde, Mozambique, Angola, and then Brazilian Portuguese is pretty different than the rest. So Brazilian Portuguese is pretty different than Continental Portuguese. A lot has to do with the accent, the way you pronounce things, and there are a few things with the words, like ways you say things. There are some slang words that are different, like the way you say cool in Brazil is legal. You say que legal, like that's really cool. Legal is like the literal translation is legal. And so that's so legal, man. I don't know. Whereas in Portugal, the way they'll say cool is fixe. I don't know if there's a little translation to that, but so fiche is never used in Brazil. Like I have Brazilian friends who have never even heard of that word before. And they don't use legal in Portugal as far as I know. Another difference with like the actual structure of how they speak is in Portugal, to say that you are doing something, like I am running, you will say estou a correr. Like you say I am to run, basically. Whereas in Portugal, or in Brazilian Portuguese, you use the present progressive, where you'll say estou correndo. So that's, I think, kind of a weird difference. It sounds weird to me when I hear Continental Portuguese speakers say that. I just think it's kind of funny. Then some big differences with the accent between Continental Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. One of the biggest ones people will probably mention is the sh. People in Continental Portuguese, when there is an S before a consonant, they will make that S like an SH sound. So the verb to be is estar. And so in Brazil, we would say estar. But in Portugal, they would say estar. And that's one of the biggest differences, probably. Another few differences are in Brazilian Portuguese, when you have a DI or a DE at the end of a word, that will make a J sound. So the word for truth is verdade. And in Spanish, you just say verdade. In Portuguese, it's spelled the same, but you have an E at the end, right after the final D, so it's pronounced verdade. Or the word for to say is dizer, spelled D-I-Z-E-R, dizer. And then a similar rule applies for when you have a T-I in the middle of a word or a T-E at the end of a word. So the word for interesting is interessante, and that last little syllable is N-T-E, interessante. And then in the middle of a word, if there's a T-I, so the word for to take something is tirar, spelled T-I-R-A-R, tirar. And so that's different than Continental Portuguese. In Continental Portuguese, you'll pronounce those T-I's and T-E's just like you'll say tirar or interessante or dizer or verdade. So I think those cover the main differences between the two Portugueses. So Brazilian Portuguese varies a lot just because the country Brazil is so big. It's bigger than the continent of the United States. So kind of the slang phrases and terms that people use vary a lot across the country. Some popular phrases that people use in Rio Grande do Sul, in the Santa Maria area, are people say che a lot. Che is like a word that just means like people just throw it in at the end of words. It kind of means like man, that was crazy, or, just throw in che, just like that. And they also say que barbaridade a lot, which means what barbarity, and it's kind of like oh my gosh, And sometimes that word is just shortened to ba. People just say ba. And there's a lot of other just, I guess, fun phrases, but those I think are two of the most common like regional phrases from Santa Maria and the Rio Grande do Sul state.